Welcome into Inside LAFC Podcast. That's right. We are live on LAFC YouTube and LAFC Facebook. I see you guys in the waiting room. We just want to remind you all that this program and everything that LAFC does is year-round. This is a place where we can congregate to talk about all things good, maybe not so good about LAFC, to talk about the latest and greatest, because there's a lot of cool things coming up on the horizon that will bridge the gap between when we start the season again in that highly anticipated game in February against Inter Miami at the Coliseum, where tickets should be available soon. We'll give you those details too. We remind you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and spread the word. We also want to thank all the great guests we've had, going back to Benny and Dunny, and Keith Costigan, and Mo Adu, and everyone who has been able to jump on here and help us through this incredible season, which I will stand by was a great one for LAFC. Sure, we didn't hit the targets, but maybe LAFC was a crossbar or woodwork away from beating Vancouver and making MLS Cup. And speaking of, we'll give our MLS Cup predictions and preview that is ahead. I encourage you all to tune in. It's going to be a great final. This is two teams that are in excellent form. And as an LAFC supporter, certainly let's support the league. This is going to be a banner day for obvious reasons. Lionel Messi there looking to continue that. So it's going to be the most, how do we say this? The most impressions ever for a MLS game. Everyone's coming in here. Thank you, Jello Rafa, looking sharp. I'm trying to tighten it up a little bit. The catalog is getting a little thin. El Guapo Dog. Hola, Max. So who is the new coach? We'll get to some details about that. No news yet, but I imagine it's coming pretty soon. So this is really your show. I'll be here. I'm going to give you all the news that we have. Any questions, any thoughts about the final, I'll be happy to answer as well. Fluffhead, I'm scouting Dolo Ballers in Barcelona, Madrid, and Rome this week. Well, interesting. Good stuff. So come on in, one and all. We're also happy to enjoy the audience in Korea. You are always welcome here. Again, Son Heung-min under contract for the next 2 years and an option. And this is a big part of what the offseason is all about. The first full season for Son Heung-min. We saw what he did in a small sample size, getting LAFC to the conference semis and so close. I mean, I know we're all thinking about that. That is going to leave a mark. It was so close. And as the MLS Cup playoffs go on, we continue to think about what could have been. But that's sports. It's supposed to hurt. So we will get into that Inside LAFC podcast. Again, we will be here throughout the offseason to bring you all the latest and greatest and just to touch base with everyone because we care so much about our LAFC's fans and supporters and listeners. I also want to tell you that you can catch LAFC Plus with Dave and Mario. They will be making regular appearances here on YouTube and Facebook. Acción LAFC with Armando will also be available. Our entire family of podcasts will be here. And, of course, Inside LAFC Podcast Live. We might have some guests. We might have some guests pop up here and there. So stay tuned. We are very fluid with everything we do. What's going on here? New jerseys. There will be new jerseys for sure. And we'll get you all the details. Hopefully get a sneak peek at some point. I'm rooting for Vancouver. Keep it on the West Coast. I am rooting for Vancouver. And I'm happy that Inter Miami got in that final because it's good business for the league. And you love to see Lionel Messi play. And for no other reason that they deserve it. They have smashed teams on the way through. And Vancouver. I mean, Vancouver were pushed to the limit by LAFC, but they demolished San Diego FC. These are the two teams that deserve it. It's also a rematch. We'll get into there. You got to score against 9 men. We do. We certainly know that. Again, I can still certainly talk about that game. The black jerseys were sick, though. We had the little pinstripe black jerseys. I don't know if you're talking about the first edition black jerseys, but those were all very nice as well. And we encourage questions. I know a lot of questions here about the LAFC coaching search. I can assure you, I don't know, I shouldn't say assure you, But that is something that you don't want to push off too long, because you want the coach to be there as much as possible for the offseason, because the offseason is quick. Major League Soccer is the longest season, certainly of the American sports, and I think if you put it up against the big soccer leagues, it is up there. We are talking about a season that's going to end this December, and we'll be back in action in just over 2 months. Keep in mind, we're heading into a World Cup year, so the next season is going to be manipulated a little bit by necessity and will go on a little longer. Do you know what day LAFC will be playing at Coachella? Pilar, joining us on Facebook. I don't have those details, but I promise you this. I am going to write that down, and I'm going to get those details if they are available for next week. I didn't look at it, but I'm planning on being there. If you ever get a chance, Coachella is a lot of fun. Go watch LAFC play. They were there for one game. I don't know how many days they'll be here this time, but when you get to Coachella, there's so much cool stuff around there. You have Palm Springs. You have obviously Coachella itself. You got golf courses aplenty. I think it's just an insane amount of golf. If you like to ski, you have Big Bear an hour and a half, or Idlewild, if you'll probably get a little bit of snow, and Joshua Tree National Park. I mean, it's insane how much stuff there is to do around there within 2 hours or less, probably less. So make sure you get out there. And if you like the casinos, if you like that kind of thing, it's all there too. Lots of great places to eat as well. Okay, let's get into the pressing news of the day, the LAFC roster update, the club announcing the players, some of the comings and goings that are going to occur. And I want to start off with Hugo Lloris, because what we were hearing as well, and we heard a lot from Hugo on the back end, was that he is looking to possibly return. Obviously, this entails a long conversation with your family and your loved ones, seeing how the body feels, and just, check in with yourself. So Hugo Lloris probably doing that, and he will probably make a decision. I would love to see Hugo back. Great leader. And I'm going to tell you this. Thomas Hasal, one of the players whose option was exercised, I think Thomas, who was a good goalkeeper, but we didn't see him a lot, but we saw him in the Leagues Cup. But this is still a very young keeper who I believe, from seeing in training, is getting better. And is this a guy who could potentially be the starting goalkeeper for LAFC? If Hugo doesn't come back, I think so. If Hugo comes back, maybe wait a little bit longer. Hugo coming back, I would imagine, would be no more than 2 years, maybe a year, to see how he feels. He's had an incredibly long career, so that's there. Cabral Carter there for LAFC too is an option, but we still need some time. I think Thomas Hasal would be a good number one, but Hugo Lloris is Hugo Lloris. So that is somebody that is on the radar for sure. Frankie Amaya, Mathieu Choinière, and Andy Moran, their loans ended. And throw Ryan Raposo in there, who you can kind of put him with the options that were not exercised, which were Alexandru Balutza, Jailson, David Ochoa, and Adam Saldana. So their options not exercised, so they're available to go elsewhere. And we thank them all. This is very difficult because I've carved out time with all those guys. And I love this club. And these guys are amazing. But this is the reality. I worked at Fox and ESPN, where you covered all the teams and all the sports. I wanted to come and cover LAFC, and I'm eternally grateful because it's provided so many great moments. But you also have to deal with the turnover. And every year, it hits, because these are guys that you pull for. So I hope to keep in touch. I actually texted Alexandru about it, and I got to tell you, the response, he was like, it was so wonderful to be here. I mean, he barely played, but to be here and see what he can do and make most of this time so that he is a more valuable prospect wherever he goes. In all likelihood, his last place of employment was in Romania, so maybe going back there. But they're all very positive. But you're like, oh, because you wish, he can't, but you wish that everyone could certainly be part of the club forever. And we have to go through that with Carlos Vela and Giorgio Chiellini. You're like, oh, it stings. But this is what we get when we cover the teams. And that's why it's very difficult when you think about the job that John Thorrington and the coaching staff, old and new, and everyone, and Larry Friedman and Stacey Johns, who've been on, Larry's been on the show, who talk about the business of the club. They have to have these conversations, and it's difficult because they make these connections too. But that's how the sausages are made. So I also wanted to mention, stay as I told you earlier, we're going to go year round. We are anticipating having John Thorrington, LAFC co-president and general manager, here on the LAFC channels very soon to talk about what we're talking about now, the roster, what the team looks like, CONCACAF Champions Cup, moving forward as well with regard. So stay tuned. Check in with us to see when we'll have that conversation with John Thorrington. This is Inside LAFC Podcast. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are on all year. Richard, you're not feeling confident about Nathan and David. They're both under contract. Nathan re-upped. We need better players. How did Moran not start? We'll get to some of that as well. One more year. I like the fact that Nate didn't execute or didn't have the moments there in that first half where LAFC were defending a lot. And then David came in, had some nice moments. You get an offseason to work on these guys. They are young. And that is what you have to deal with, the good and the bad with young players. And that's why you want Hugo Lloris, because this is a seasoned professional who will tell these guys or teach these guys how every game the consistency has to be there. Casual Miguel, Dolo in. We had a little text thread with Steve. I wanted to thank him for the 4 years that we had. These are great memories for me. And he was very appreciative and responded, and we went back and forth. So we look forward to that. He assured me that we'll have a chance to grab a coffee or something else in the next few weeks or months to see how he's checking in. But Steve Trundle, I wanted to say this really quickly. I was starting to talk about this season, because I've seen some people say, oh, thank God it's over. I know it's a very rare number because the season ended so well. LAFC, while, again, a crossbar or a post from potentially making MLS Cup, because if they beat Vancouver, the winner of Vancouver LAFC was always going to get to MLS Cup in my estimation. Even if LAFC, I know they would have done something similar with San Diego. And I'll let you know what I think about the Western Conference team in MLS Cup when we preview that year ahead. But this was a season, it had ups and downs, but LAFC I'm going to start from the bottom, had a nice win against Tigres in Leagues Cup, which obviously doesn't get them through to Leagues Cup very far, which they played an alternate team, so it was always going to be an uphill battle. But they had a famous win there. That is, the bare minimum, we know. LAFC qualified for the playoffs, got home field advantage. They finished third. That is any team. And Inter Miami finished third in their conference. Vancouver finished second. When you have 50 games a year, finishing first is going to be tricky. But LAFC, this is what they signed up for. They finished the season strong. They finished third in the West with a very, very good, historically good Vancouver team and this once-in-a-lifetime San Diego team ahead of them, who had no other responsibilities, by the way, other than, but I'm not, again, San Diego were excellent. I covered their game last Monday. They're really impressive, and they're not going anywhere. So league-wise, you hit your target. Always could be better, but I'm telling you, and there's teams that haven't had a game in weeks would sell a relative to be in LAFC's position. Qualified for the Club World Cup. Played in the Club World Cup. Got a draw against Flamengo. Congratulations to Flamengo. They just won the Copa Libertadores. Champions of South America again. These are memories. And I know the Club World Cup was we watched those games. It didn't go well, but they qualified. And that's a huge goal. So this was a good season. If anyone wants to tell you about it, invite them to come here and I will argue with them and I will win that argument. But I feel like LAFC just barely eked out a performance against Vancouver. LAFC were in the ascendancy, tac in that game. And the issue was they couldn't finish in extra time, but not from lack of trying. I've watched that game. I've watched that extra time 2 more times since. And you're like, oh my, it was one after the other. Vancouver on the ropes. You didn't see Vancouver on the ropes in any other game. So that was a pretty good performance from them. Craig, good to hear from you, Craig. I would say this was a positive, progressive season. It was close to being successful. Vancouver always going to be the hardest playoff team. Okay, we can accept that. And by the way, Craig, I know you're from Scotland. The news that Wilfred Nancy is leaving Columbus to take over Celtic. Some very big news. It goes to show that MLS coaches are in the world market. And whatever happens with Steve is a massive success. I expect him to have a huge post and have some big, big jobs in the future. This is his first real coaching job, and he had 4 really good years, MLS Cup, etc. And remember Jesper Sorensen, maybe Pascal Janssen, maybe Bradley Carnell. These are guys that if you do the job in MLS, you will be there as well. I'm going to get back now to the LAFC roster update. I didn't mention the options that were exercised. Thomas Hasal, Kenny Nielsen, and Kosi Tafari, and Adrian Wiebowo, all coming back. So these young players to join guys like Nathan Ordaz and Jude Terry. Very exciting stuff. The reports we're hearing that LAFC is trying to get something worked out with Mathieu Choinier, who is in the LAFC system with Grasshoppers. Also, Andy Moran, who since joining LAFC, I thought I had a really important game in that conference semifinal, and he's been called back up to Ireland, at least in that November window. We'll see what happens in the future. Ireland will be playing in the European qualifiers for those final 4 spots in March. So what we are hearing is that there are conversations to get something official with those guys. Amaya is eligible for free agency. He was on loan from Toluca. His loan ends December 31st. Odin Holm and Andy Moran eligible for the re-entry process. I should say Holm is his loan ended, so we can say that. This is the thing. I mean, we all want to have Andy there, but you're dealing with a Premier League team, which is, the big, big money. So I would think LAFC would love to keep him, and they'll work out whatever they can. But it all depends on the marketplace. We've seen this with so many players in the past. So that's what's going to certainly happen. But we are hearing Amaya, Choinier, Moran. It's a possibility. And then Hugo Lloris, we'll have to wait and see. The options exercise, I gave you that list, and the guys who aren't coming back. Keep in mind also the long list of players, starting with Son Heung-min, Denny Bouanga, Mark Delgado, the guys who signed new contracts, Ryan Hollingshead, Sergi Palencia, Nate Ordaz, Tim Tillman, Igor Jesus, and Aaron Long coming back. 21 players under contract, which is a lot better of a foundation than I can recall LAFC having over the last 2-3 years since they've been winning trophies. So this is obviously need more players, and LAFC will go after that. And we'll talk about the new coach because, again, that should be something that we'll be hearing very, very quickly. What's holding that up certainly is the end of the season. We're in the offseason now for LAFC. Let's go into the comments. Inside LAFC podcast. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Hello to everyone in Korea. We have a good morning. Ahaha. Why are you laughing? What's so funny? Is it my shirt? Is it my wonderfully coiffed hair? I have some new hair product. Someone already gave me Jelly Roll. I'm going to call you Jelly Roll because I can't read your handle. We'll see there. Maybe bring Ben Davis to our club. The Tottenham Hotspur, a couple folks. Do you think Sonny might bring Ben Davis from Tottenham? That's a possibility. LAFC are using all their resources. Seen it with Giorgio Chiellini when Lorenzo Della Valle, who's on the roster, hopefully he can finally put those injuries behind him. And we heard from Son Heung-min that he is here, and we've seen it with Lionel Messi. It's a reality when you have a player of that nature and the appeal that he can bring some players. So I don't know if they're going to bring in Ben Davis or any other Tottenham Hotspur player or Korean national team player. But Son Heung-min can talk to them as much as he wants and convince them. And he can be very convincing with the time we have spent for Son Heung-min. So 21 players under the contract. So here we go. So the new coach has the table set for him just perfectly. That's a very unique circumstance for a new coach to be in. When you're talking about a new coach, he comes in and he sets a new roster. And you'll see a lot more players leaving and less players staying than what LAFC has. You got to be pretty excited about this. I mean, I've been on this podcast the last few years, and people's fatigue with the way MLS rules are set up. It's hard to keep your roster in place, especially if you're a successful team. Because when you're a successful team, your successful players want better contracts. So LAFC, this is a rarity, but I would rather have that. Now, that said, maybe not every coach wants to come in and have a roster in place. I don't know, but I think a lot of coaches want to come in and do their own thing, which is one of the benefits. And LAFC, this is also whoever takes over. It's a high pressure situation because the success is there. They missed the playoffs in 2021, and that was it. They've made the playoffs every year. They have won multiple trophies, and they made a boatload of finals, certainly the last few years. So, want to see Steve coach Lille with the OG. I think you're talking about Olivier Giroud. I've been watching the French league. It's been very good. Olivier's doing good. Lille, I think, are in the top 5 or 6. So that should be pretty good. And we'll see about that. Moran was promising, but didn't hit the heights. Thanks for his service. I will say that Andy got better the more games he played, and we saw that culminate in that final. But again, LAFC will have some flexibility with who they can bring in when we're talking about that. That is something that we will look forward to, which is always a very exciting LAFC on offseason. I'm only interested who is going to coach Sonny next season. We'll find out, and then everything falls into place. But then Sonny, too, is going to want to sign off on that, right? The players in MLS, the big star players, have more say than they might have in another club, say Tottenham Hotspur. But this is Sonny's. They're building Sonny, this team around Sonny. You can see what he could do for the club, and it will certainly be a big part of what comes happen after this. Why? See, now you got Aaron all started. Why would he coach Lille if he could barely coach Giroud? Okay, listen, Giroud had gone there, and now Giroud is doing well, but LAFC did well with their new look as well. We need a strong number 10 spot. Well, we have the 2 wingers. So where could you play the 10? I think you could. Different guys played it. Maybe you go with a big-time number 9 as well, which was Giroud. Jeremy Abobasi filled that role. In the meantime, they went with 3 wingers, which seemed pretty comfortable, but it all depends on the new coach. And that's certainly what they're weighing. I think there has to be a significant signing or another loan of a high-profile player coming to start next season as well. So there you go. The roster update. It's all going to happen very quickly here. I just want to hear Moran's accent one more time in a press conference. We had him. Check out his episode of Black and Gold Insider. He was delightful. Great answers to questions. Not only funny, but really smart. Just a good guy to have around. And I said this last week, but do you remember when, of course you remember this, when Son Heung-min hit that free kick goal and he celebrated? That was my favorite part. Everyone that you may have thought might have been maligned, which they weren't, celebrated like they scored that goal. They were so happy. The embraces were so warm. To me, that is what I'm taking this offseason, how close this team is. Even guys that probably knew that they were going to be leaving in a few weeks with the loans. Andy Moran does not know if he's going to stay, and he celebrated like he scored that. He doesn't have to be happy here, but he is. And everyone celebrated. Backups, guys that were pulled out. I saw David Martinez's celebration. He was over the moon. So very, very good. We need a good midfielder. I think they're going to build something around the midfield because so many guys have been leaving with Choinier. They do have Tillman, and they do have Mark Delgado, and those are 2 fantastic foundation stones. Sergio Ramos backline. Sergio Ramos, the Spanish legend, is a free agent now, leaving Monterrey. Would love to see him in MLS. I think he's very serviceable. That's going to be a big price tag, but if you put him in that LAFC backline or anyone, it's going to be, not to mention his goal-scoring prowess. It's very good. Well, we've had a lot to talk about. Look, we're 25 minutes deep. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Off-season timeline. Let us get into that very quickly. So they're going to come in thick and fast here. The first and foremost, I had it written here. The MLS, it starts November 26th, where clubs can exercise their options. That happened. December the 9th, there's a half-day trade window. Anything could happen. If you're looking for a player that could be coming towards free agency and you want to sign, you could do it there. MLS expansion draft the draft will be coming up as well. The reentry process is on December 13th and 19th. The super draft, pardon me, is on December the 20th. So the month of December is filled with dates, and I would recommend you stay abreast of that. Stay on our LAFC channels here, because LAFC did add some draft picks. Kenny Nielsen coming through the draft. There was a lot of interesting usage of draft picks in order to get some leverage on some trades. And there's the trade window. We saw that as well. I mean, LAFC were so active at the beginning of last season with the likes of Jeremy Abobasi and Mark Delgado brought in early. So they're always active. The thing is, can they be active? Because they're going to have to, they have to navigate this with 21 players under contract. There's a little less flexibility. We also talked last week about the switch to the calendar. I believe there's going to be more financial flexibility as a result, because if you're going to change the calendar and you can open the window to better signings, the league would have to kind of give some, whether it's big or small. I think they need to do that and move forward to as well. And I also said this, man, maybe 5-10 years down the road, maybe something like promotion relegation could happen here. Major League Soccer is changing with this calendar change. So if they're in that process, we shall see. So, Sebastian, you think the midfield is falling too much? I think you're meaning by falling back a bit. You want a little more attacking bite. We will see first what the coach does, but there's a possibility about that. Vancouver does that a lot with Thomas Muller. And there's a possibility that LAFC could pursue a guy like that to see if they can help counterattack Denny Bouanga and Son Heung-min a little bit more. They played Sonny in that position a bit as well. Son can play any of those front positions, so we could see as well. Can we submit requests for inside LAFC offseason guests? Ryan Hollings said Ryan Porteous. Paul, haven't you seen enough of team security, Paul? He's everywhere. We love Paul. We'll talk to him. I got to reach out to him as well. Thank you for reminding me. So the offseason timeline will kept busy, and then early in 2026, we'll see that process. You have the Coachella Invitational, and you'll see a lot more happen with LAFC with regards to who are the new players. And again, with this great foundation, they are all likely to start some big ones as well and get those pieces that they feel they need to put them over the top. Because now LAFC, if they want to reach the standards that they reach so frequently, they have Vancouver and they have Inter Miami. And remember, Inter Miami is going to be losing Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets, but these are two teams that are going to be better. San Diego is going to be very good. Tata Martino and Atlanta, they're going to start doing better. FC Cincinnati is not going to put their guard down. Seattle's not going to put their guard down. So LAFC are going to have to become as good as they are, I think, right now, get to become a better team moving forward, and that will happen. It will happen. Some news. LAFC qualifies for the 2026 CONCACAF Champions Cup. Ramos would be a great leader. I love to see Eriksson and Sonny hooked up in LAFC. Talking about Christian Eriksson, a lot of Danish players and coaches coming to MLS, so maybe. So LAFC qualifying for the 2026 CONCACAF Champions Cup. I mentioned the offseason timeline. I do want to also remind you, now that LAFC is in this competition, that the draw is December the 9th. So that's next week. That is next Tuesday. We will have the CONCACAF Champions Cup draw. It is going to go the turn. By the way, LAFC qualified. So once New York City got knocked out, they were the only team that could have pushed LAFC out based on the Supporter Shield standings. So Vancouver was already in. Inter Miami was in. San Diego was already in. That meant LAFC. They're the last team to get in. So they cut it pretty close. And we could argue that till we're blue in the face. They cut it really close. But they got in. They got in. And the point difference between where they got in, they could have gotten in more comfortably if they beat Colorado, for instance, in the last game, which I think we look back at because it could have possibly got LAFC into second in the West. Water under the bridge. You can sit here and go, LAFC got into the CONCACAF Champions Cup, which is a massive deal. It is a massive deal because you can get into international competition. You can get into the FIFA Club World Cup, and the FIFA Intercontinental Cup, which is coming up. Is it later this year? It is. So in between Club World Cups, they still have the Intercontinental Cup. Cruz Azul won it last year. They are in it. Paris Saint-Germain are going to be in it. They're the favorites. So you have those teams. You have that competition every year. So it's a double benefit if you win the CONCACAF Champions Cup. 27-team tournament, 9 from MLS, Seattle, Inter Miami, the Galaxy. Remember, they qualified through Leagues Cup. Nashville, Philadelphia, Vancouver, Cincinnati, San Diego, LAFC. 9 teams. This is the strongest MLS field ever. MLS has to win it this year. There are 6 Mexican teams, and America, they're all really good. Monterrey, Toluca, Cruz Azul, the reigning champs, Tigres, and Pumas. The Liga MX playoffs are going on right now. Big news because Chivas lost, and the missed penalty by Chicharito Hernandez. I saw a tweet from my friend Hercules Gomez who said, why do people revel so much in the failure of Chicharito? I know Chicharito played for the Galaxy, but this guy gave up so much for Chivas. I mean, he is, if you're a fan of Chivas or a fan of Mexican football, this guy put his body, put everything on the line. I would not want to. Oh, Veme, please, I want to contact Son Heung-min. I have to tell you, I got nothing, but you're free to ask, as we encourage people here on Inside LAFC podcast. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Yeah, the draw is December the 9th. There are 6 Central American teams. There are 3 Canadian Premier League teams. The winner, again, the next Club World Cup is in 2029. So if LAFC can't get in this year, this is going to be a really tough one because I mentioned all those teams. It's going to be tough every year. MLS is getting better, and LAFC is going to have to keep pace with these clubs. Everyone's getting better. If you don't, you can do it in 27 or 28 in order to qualify for that. The first round, February 3rd through 5th. That'll be the opening round. And remember last year we did this? So by the way, December 9th, the draw. So stay tuned, as I've said here on the LAFC channels, for draw reaction. We will be all over it. Just like we were last year, we had Ryan Hollingshead on. We talked about drawing the Colorado Rapids. So you could have that cold climate game. And it's going to be a tough game. LAFC made the quarterfinals, narrowly missed beating Inter Miami. David, we had to prioritize CONCACAF Champions Cup qualification every year, which means taking Leagues Cup more serious. I agree with you, man. But I think at the time there was so much going on with the Club World Cup that it was hard for LAFC to balance the Leagues Cup too. So you got to balance it. But this is the reality of being a successful club, and why they need a little more help with their roster, which I think will happen at some point. World Cup draw is coming up on Friday. I see there Young Song Hwang reaching out to us. Yeah, the World Cup draw is Friday, so everyone tune in. USA, Mexico, Canada, Korea, everyone's there. That'll be, I think, it's early. I think they cater that to a global audience, so I believe it starts around 9 a.m. Pacific time, maybe earlier. Yeah, maybe 7 or 8, so stay tuned. Fluffhead, Nate Ordaz smoked Miami single-handedly at BMO, which just proves once again he's better than Messi. That was an awesome game. Another great memory. Who can forget? Who was it? If you were at that game, remember that? Of course you remember it. It was hot, heavy, intense with the fan bases inside the stadium, outside the stadium. One of many great memories here. We need a Max Breton. I think you may hit the wrong button. I'll forgive you this time. Recurring role on Happy Foot, Sad Foot. Those guys do a great job, and we love everyone sharing the message of LAFC. So the CONCACAF Champions Cup, I will leave it at this. Because they qualified last, there's 27 teams. 5 get a bye. So you could do, it'll be whoever wins MLS Cup, Liga MX winners. But you'll still be left with 3 or 4 excellent Mexican teams and 3 or 4 excellent MLS teams. My money says LAFC is going to have a very tough opponent because of where they qualified. And I have to look in the details. Like when I say tough opponent, they may draw Toluca, or they may draw the Galaxy if they're higher up there, or FC Cincinnati, or Vancouver again. You know what? They're going to draw Vancouver. They're going to draw Vancouver. Lock it in. Lock it in. They're going to draw Vancouver. I don't know if that's good or bad, but get used to it. Appreciate everyone joining us. We're having a good turnout here. I was talking to our producer, Sarah, and we're like, what's it going to be like? And you guys are awesome. I love doing the show. We're going to continue to do it. There's so much information, but even if there wasn't information, I would love to do that. Do the low-seeded teams have to play more games, or is it the same amount of games? Great question. The lower seed teams do. Top 5 teams miss that, the 22 teams, so 11 games, home and away. So the top 5 teams avoid that and will get a favorable draw. So you're getting 11 teams to join 5, so you have 16. So 2 more games for LAFC, which was the case last year. But I think they're going to get a tougher opponent than the Colorado Rapids. And there's a very likelihood, because of the Canadian Premier League teams that they could be, and some of the MLS teams are going to a cold climate again. So that's going to start before the MLS season starts, as is tradition. So we'll have the draw December 9th. I think a lot of the MLS fans would love to see a road trip, so they would like a Mexican team, not a really, really good one. But I'll tell you this too. Liga MX teams, if you're Toluca, or if you are Tigres, or if you are Seattle, you don't want to see LAFC. You're going to be like, wish you had a better draw. You don't want to see LAFC. So it cuts. Max, leak the info you have. No info. I've said this before. I'm not an insider. I don't want to be an insider. That information will only get me in trouble. So I'm like, no. Once it's released, I will talk to you about it. Maybe that makes me a little boring, but it keeps me gainfully employed. Self-preservation, folks. Best advice I can give you. Since 2018, I've wanted to see LAFC at the LAFC Coliseum. That'll be the season opener against Inter Miami. That's going to be amazing. I think so. We will have all the details on that as we get closer. Max knows everything. Not true. Well, yeah. Okay. Thanks for correcting the name. Coliseum opening day. A lot of people are happy. So there's the qualification. We're going to wrap things up talking about MLS Cup. And again, I encourage you guys to tune in Saturday, December the 6th, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, 2:30 Eastern. Be a nice time maybe no, it won't be a nice time. It'll be a horrible time for the fans in Korea. Will they be tuning in? It's a great game. Inter Miami, Vancouver Whitecaps. Let me know what you guys think. Juan Vargas. Love you too. Juan, I'll see you at Coachella, right? Like I did a couple years back. What about Jardinet from America or Javi Hernandez for coach? I would love to see Andres Jardinet in MLS. He would be a good LAFC candidate. Why not? Why not? And I'm confirmed about LAFC going to Coachella. If they're not there, I'm not going to go. But we'll see, because it is run by AG, and that's kind of more affiliation with the Galaxy. I wish it was a league thing, and I'll have those details next week. Come here next week. I'll have the details about Coachella. All right. But while I don't know the specifics, I'm pretty sure LAFC will be there because we got some information from stuff internally. Paul, we have to overhaul the midfield. We need playmakers who can create opportunities for our forwards. That depends on the new coach. It's a possible. Better defense, score on a somewhat consistent basis. We were like one of the top 5 scoring teams, Paul. Down the stretch, we scored a ton of goals. A lot of goals over a lot of competitions. Cheers, David Hernandez. I can see that emoji. When can we expect new quality players? I would say we'll expect players. LAFC goes big and support players. They're all important, as we have seen. When we saw Ryan Raposo come in and play an important role, we didn't think he was going to play. And that's the thing. In a certain game, someone's going to have to put their hand up. Oh, I see what you meant, Paul. Not a lot of goal scoring for the midfields. 100%. I would like to see that too, because that's going to take a little pressure off Sonny and Denny if a guy can hit a long-range shot. And I think they have it in them. But we didn't really have a lot of that season. So I apologize for I don't know if I jumped down your throat on that one. MLS Cup. Support the league. This is going to be huge. It's not just Messi versus Mueller. These are 2 teams that ripped through it. The only little mark was LAFC on Vancouver, which was, again, this close for LAFC advancing. And if LAFC advanced it, I think LAFC would have won MLS Cup, because I think Vancouver is going to win MLS Cup. I think Vancouver is going to win it. I think they are a better team. They're going to get Tristan Blackman back defensively. As impressive as Inter Miami was, Vancouver was more impressive doing that to the best team in the West in their facility. Vancouver was more impressive. And they have been there. They beat Inter Miami in the semifinals of the CONCACAF Champions Cup, which also could have been LAFC if they didn't lose to Inter Miami. But you see what I'm saying about LAFC? You talk about the top teams, LAFC is always there. They're always a step away, or they're there. It's a sign of a strong, healthy club. Top 3 in goal differential, correct, for LAFC. But just David Paul was talking about the midfielders, so he was right, I was wrong. Vancouver have gotten over there. What are your predictions? I think it's going to be an amazing game. And again, it's going to be massively watched. You can see it directly on Apple TV, or if you still have MLS Season Pass, you can go to MLS Season Pass like I do. Max, estás loco? You betting against Messi? Sí, David, soy loco. And I'm probably going to eat my words. I think Messi and Inter Miami have been phenomenal, but so is Vancouver. And they have a better defensive midfielder in Cubas. They have better wingers in Sabi and Ahmed. Messi and DePaul, and their wingers have been great too. But I like Ahmed. Ali Ahmed, to me, is a $10 million player right now. He is a $10 million player, and Sabi might get there the way he's playing. But Ali Ahmed really was the hardest player for LAFC. They couldn't mark him many times. I remember Sergi, who's been perfect. Sergi was chasing him a fair bit. Ali Ahmed is really, really good. But they are both good. I can't believe it. We were trying about a 30-minute show. We're 42 minutes deep. Let's take a look at all the data here. Amazing. You guys are here. I appreciate all of you. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. You can watch it live. You can watch it a little bit later. That's the information we have for now. Can't wait for my free Apple TV. That's right. Apple TV the games will go straight to Apple TV. So one price for Apple TV will get you all their great shows like Ted Lasso. I think they have a new season coming out, and Inception, as well as F1, the movie. And you will also get F1 and the real F1 and MLS. Is Aaron Long coming back for the first game? I don't think so, but I've seen Aaron. He's walking around and he's eager to get back. He'll be back sooner than you think. How about that? I'll answer it that. Great to be with you guys. A reminder, all the podcasts will still be here with Action LAFC, LAFC Plus, and Inside LAFC podcast live every Monday. Stay tuned for our interview with John Thorrington. We hope to have that soon, and a lot of cool stuff coming your way. Thanks for supporting. Bring your questions and comments. Until we meet again, this is Max saying, let's go LAFC. Let's go black and gold.